Pardon me, may I buy some carbon credits here?
Hello perwira Pertamina.
Welcome to the learning module on sustainability. In this episode, we'll explore how carbon pricing reduces greenhouse gas emissions. How do carbon market mechanisms work? How will carbon markets unlock new opportunities? And what are carbon market risks and challenges? Let's get started. You might wonder, can you put a price tag on air? Yes, you can. That is the idea of carbon pricing. Carbon pricing is the monetary cost applied to greenhouse gas or GHG emissions in order to encourage businesses and industries to reduce the GHG they emit. This can be done in two main ways. First is by applying a carbon tax. This price is set by the government, and companies have to pay for the GHG they emit. The tax aims to discourage excessive GHG emissions and encourages companies to switch to cleaner fuels or adopt new technologies. The second is carbon trading. This is where companies buy or sell carbon credits to remain within the limit or cap set on a total amount of CO2 equivalent emissions allowed. In carbon markets, each carbon credit is equal to 1 ton of CO2 equivalent reduced or removed. So, how do carbon markets work? They offer financial incentives for reducing emissions, driving innovation, and supporting sustainable practices. There are two types of carbon market. Compliance markets, where companies are mandated to cover emissions because of legally binding reduction targets. And voluntary carbon markets, where companies choose to offset emissions. So, how does the compliance market work? In a regulated compliance market, companies are allocated a fixed number of emission allowances. Companies that exceed this allowance will face penalties. On the other hand, a company with emissions below its allocation might sell surplus allowances to raise money. Buying emission allowances on the compliance market is a way for companies to exceed their allocated emission allowances. This is also called the cap and trade system. An example of compliance markets is the Emissions Trading System, or ETS, which is the world's largest and has been implemented across Europe, including Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands. The second type of carbon market is the Voluntary Carbon Market, or VCM. Participation in VCMs is optional, driven by corporate social responsibility objectives, sustainability goals, and a desire to demonstrate environmental leadership through emission offsetting. In Indonesia, an example of VCM is IDX Carbon, which was launched on 26 September 2023 by the Indonesia Stock Exchange, or IDX. Pertamina New and Renewable Energy was the first supplier to participate in IDX Carbon, selling carbon credits generated from its geothermal operations. Carbon offset plays a pivotal role in VCM because it lets companies compensate for their emissions by buying carbon credits from projects that reduce or remove greenhouse gases. Example projects include peatland restoration, reforestation, and renewable energy projects. How do carbon markets unlock new opportunities? By joining, companies can unlock business opportunities, gain financial rewards, and enhance their reputation. It encourages innovation and tech advancements. Carbon markets can also support local communities. biodiversity, and promote sustainable development. However, there are risks and challenges in carbon markets. Regulatory complexity, greenwashing image, market manipulation, and fraud are significant risks. Therefore, robust validation, monitoring, and verification is essential to manage these risks. Companies must adopt best practices, implement risk management strategies, and collaborate with industry peers, regulatory authorities, and civil society stakeholders. Now, let's recap. We have seen how carbon markets encourage emission reductions and support sustainability. How carbon market mechanisms like cap-and-trade systems in the compliance market and carbon offsetting in VCMs work. How participating in carbon markets can unlock new opportunities. And a proactive approach can help to overcome the challenges. And now, we are ready to make carbon the next big thing.